Hello and welcome to another episode of the Happy Head podcast. Now, hopefully, if you've been watching these for a while, you know that my name is Paul. And if you don't, then I'm really upset because this is kind of like number 63 or 4 of the episodes. And if you don't know me, I'm going to get really upset and I'll go into a fit of depression and I'll probably just jump out the first floor window, which would break both my legs. Do you want to feel responsible for breaking both my legs? No. So remember, Paul, that's my name. I'm sorry, but I do these and I need to have a different way of introducing myself. So I say something really stupid every now and again. But anyway, enough of that. Sarah English, good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Paul. How are you?
I'm splendiferous, thank you. And it looks really, really lovely where you are. Today is kind of grey. The sun is trying to get out where I am, but it's a bit bleh.
Well, it was raining this morning, but the sun's come out just in time for the podcast.
Yeah, we had some sun. No, we had rain last night because I woke up and everything's wet, but it's just like grim. It's mid-July.
I
All
know.
I want to know is, where is the sun? Where's it gone?
Apparently, it's coming out the rest of the week. It's going to be 27 degrees on Sunday. You heard it here first.
I saw the weather forecast and it said, 24, 25, 26, 27. I'll believe it when I see it because I've had the weather app on my phone open and it says, sunshine with a few clouds, and it's been persisting down outside.
Yes.
Literally.
They don't always get it right.
No. But then again, I mean, it's trying to get the weather right is probably like trying to pick the winning numbers of the lottery every week because there are so many variables, there are so many things that can kick in.
Yeah.
It just must be a nightmare.
Yes.
Unless there is like not a cloud in the sky for like 1,000 miles in each direction, then you can say, yeah, it's going to be sunny today. But if there's a bit of cloud floating about, you just can't tell. I've been outside and it's been absolutely beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. And I've looked in the distance and there's this wall of cloud. And over a period of a couple of hours, it gets closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And the sun just goes, sod that, I'm off. And it just disappears.
Well, we decided to go to Thorpe Park after a week of glorious weather, and we went and it rained constantly all day. Not just a little bit of rain. They actually shut the waterways down because they were flooding. That's how wet it was.
Now, a long time ago, I worked in the southwest of France, a place called Les Landes, which is like known for its beaches. It's just sort of north of the Pyrenees. And there's this massive, massive man-made forest that's been there, I don't know, 200-300 years, because it's for the pine resin. And it's known that in August, the weather is generally just crap because I know the heat taken up from the forest and the stuff coming off the mountain. So you get a really, really bad June, July, September, pretty good. But most Augusts, horrible. When do the Brits want to go on holiday? August. It was a campsite. So I can remember spending most of my August down there digging trenches round town to stop them flooding, literally.
Yeah, it's not the nicest to be camping in the rain. I've done that on pretty much every year we've gone.
Yeah, even in caravans. I mean, that's even scarier because when it rains heavily on a caravan, it's a thin metallic screen, it's just all that, and you can't sleep, you can't tell yourself talk. It's horrible. But anyway, we're not here to talk about how to be a good weather forecaster. We're here to talk about something else, I believe. So what are we going to be talking about today, Sarah?
I think we're going to talk about my journey from corporate to freelance.
Ooh, let's do that then. So what were you? Let me speak proper English for a minute or two here. Were you in the world of corporates?
In the world of corporate, I was a corporate account manager. I worked in telecoms. I used to manage probably about 80 corporate accounts at any given time. Used to look after them and make sure they're okay and the contracts. And so it was fixed line and mobile communications. So I did that for almost 9 years. I've always worked in sales, and I've always enjoyed sales actually. We were actually bought out by a huge organisation, and we pretty much became a number. We're a huge organisation anyway, and when we were bought out, it lost it for me. I didn't enjoy working for the company anymore, but I did give it a year. I gave it a good chance to see if it's what I wanted to do. And I just found myself, I was really unhappy. I mean, really, really unhappy. I didn't like the new work. I didn't like the environment. I didn't like what this new company stood for. So I knew I needed to change, but I didn't really know what I was going to do. And I certainly never even considered freelancing. Never in a million years did I think of that. So eventually, I just decided to go for it and leave. And I got another job, um, which I lasted a month at because I hated it. And I mean, I really hated it. It was the worst move I ever made going there. I mean, I'm sure there's people that have been in exactly the same position, but everything that was promised to me didn't happen. And I just found that I was just sat there day in, day out, cold calling, um, which for anyone is absolutely soul destroying. Um, and yeah, so I just decided that that wasn't for me. So without anything else to go for, I actually left because I just couldn't stand it any longer. And then so I was applying for different jobs. And then I found a job as a recruiter. Um, I'd worked in recruitment before, so I thought, yeah, sure, I can do that. Why not? I'll give it a go. So I applied and I got a phone call, and it was actually for a franchise. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's go for it. So I started my recruitment franchise. It was all about psychological profiling and stuff, which I was really fascinated in because I do honestly believe that psychologically a match between an employer and an employee is really important. So, and actually finding that match is really quite exciting. So I did that for 18 months. I did an awful lot of training on like the psychology side of things, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And to be honest, we employers weren't really employing that much, and the candidates weren't that good, and so the placements were few and far between, and it was certainly not enough to live on. So something had to change. And over the course of those 18 months, a lot of people were saying to me, why don't you start your own business? Why don't you just work for yourself? Um, because I've always written on a sideline, constantly written as a sideline. Even as a child, I wrote constantly. And so I'd done like little bits of work for people, and done little snippets and written loads of CVs for people completely free of charge. Didn't even charge for it at the time. um, I thought, do you know what, why don't I train to become a copywriter? So I went online, I did some courses. I'd already done 4 writing diplomas anyway, just for myself. So I learned all about digital marketing. I learned about, a lot more about marketing as a whole. I already had the sales side down anyway, so I wasn't too worried about that. And then on the 22nd of July, 2019, I launched Right Idea, and I haven't looked back since. I literally have not looked back since because it's just, I mean, touch wood, gone from strength to strength to strength, and it's pretty incredible.
When you say that, Sarah, that you'd always been writing, what kind of stuff were you writing?
So I was writing anything, short stories. I've written loads of short stories. I've written a lot of poetry. And this is like a lot of the stuff that I wrote was I wouldn't say pre-internet, but it was like written publication. I wrote a few short stories that were published in women's magazines, which was quite cool. Um, I obviously, with all my work, I'd have to write proposals and a lot of documentation and contracts and stuff like that. So the professional side of writing I was doing anyway. And then just for fun, a lot of short stories and things like that. So in some way, shape, or another, I've always written.
So I get that because lots of people like writing poetry and short stories, but it's still quite a huge leap from kind of writing stuff for your own pleasure. Okay, I know you did
Yeah,
CVs and stuff, but that's quite
yeah,
like a formula to it, isn't it?
yeah.
But copywriting is a kind of world on its own. It's a niche within a niche almost, isn't it?
It
So,
really is. Yeah, yeah.
so
So
why
I mean,
copywriting rather than say like getting all of your stuff together and becoming an author and going down that kind of road? What made you kind of go into copywriting specifically?
I think I wanted to write professionally for business people. I Yes, I would love to write a book and be an author. I think if I'd have done that, my dad would have killed me. Same as if I'd have turned around and said, I'm going to go off and be an artist. My dad's very traditional. He would have said, you need a proper job. And I think sort of copywriting just seemed, I don't know, it felt right. It really, really felt right to me. It wasn't something that I kind of fell into. I just, I'd obviously marketed my own franchise all on my own. The only difference being is that I couldn't design it all myself, or, I wasn't I wasn't told what to write, so I had like you know, full capacity to write what I wanted to write to promote the franchise. So thankfully it wasn't that strict. So I found myself doing more and more, advertising on social media and looking at organic growth and, versus paid advertisement. And so I actually learned so much of what I needed running the franchise. And I think it kind of gave me a little bit of like a taster into what it would be as a copywriter, because I was writing an awful lot for the franchise. So yeah, it just seemed like a natural progression. So with the copywriting, because of my sales background, copy is meant more as a sales tool, whereas content is more, and I do content writing as well, which is more like your blogging. It's like more to inform people, rather than get them to buy into something or buy something. But like I said, I mean, I do absolutely both. I'm not limited to what type of copy that I go for.
So do you specialize in a particular area or will you write for anyone and everyone?
I'll write for anyone and everyone. I'm not fussy. I've written for so many different people. From a cleaning company right the way up to a high level lawyer. Even one of the spokespeople for Boris Johnson I've written for as well. I'm really, I don't want to set myself in a niche, because I think you get very close-minded if you do that. Yes, I think some copywriters need to be niche, like IT. If that's a more specialist area, because if you write something technical, it's technical people that are reading it. So things like that, I would always say I'm not comfortable with that level of, technicality or whatever. Um, but I pretty much let people come to me and say, I've got an idea, and then we'll just open up a whole big discussion and brainstorming session and stuff like that. And I think they don't actually realize what they want at the time, but until like we talk and, put a plan together, they leave feeling really excited, which is great.
You must spend an awful lot of time on research things. If you're working from
Yeah.
everything from a cleaning company to a political representative,
Yeah.
that's two complete worlds apart.
Yeah. I do a lot of research. Yeah. And of course, not everything you read on the internet is true. I don't know whether you've heard that or not, Paul.
My God. You're joking. You mean not
No,
every no.
not everything is true on the internet, apparently. Yeah, so any source that I have, I always make sure that it is absolutely spot on and it is right. I used to write for an accountancy firm, um, and writing for those, a lot of the stuff was it was what was in the news at the time, with finance and stuff like that. So I'd have to keep up to date because obviously I was doing the regular posting. I'd have to keep up to date on what was going on. So I tend to, when I'm working with a client, I tend to, especially if I'm on like retainer, and so I write for them on a constant basis. I am always reading it with what's going on in their area, if there's anything newsworthy, because I'm looking for content constantly. So I'm always up to date with what's going on in their industry. The one-off stuff, so I can be asked to write a blog on something, say, for example, mindfulness. So then I would go and look at lots of different sources before I put pen to paper or fingers to typewriter or whatever. So yeah, it's a lot of research goes into it.
What's it like working for yourself, especially particularly when you've come from kind of a world where there's lots of backup and lots of support and lots of different departments? Like, whether there's an accounts department, there's a marketing department, there's this department,
Yeah,
that department. But when you work for yourself, you kind of got to do it all on your
all
own. So
yourself. Yeah.
how do you manage that?
I think because I was in a huge open plan office before, lots and lots of noise constantly. A sales office is the noisiest office you can be in, which you want it to be because obviously we're making sales. However, if I needed to concentrate, I would find that I would put some music on, just so I could drown out that background noise. So I could concentrate then on putting a contract together or a proposal together or something. So I've always been able to shut myself off from everything that's going on around me. So when I came to work for myself, I'm not going to lie. I mean, at first, having to be disciplined was pretty difficult, and sorting out your own time, and but before I knew it, I'd find that I'd be working and I've missed lunch, and I've been to the toilet once in the whole day. I've had one cup of coffee all day because I just get so involved in what I'm doing that the time just disappears. I've had to learn, like, obviously, all the invoicing side of things. So, I mean, there's lots and lots of things that I've had to learn. And of course, my business was 8 months old when we were locked down. So, I feel like the whole of my journey has all been new. There's not one thing that I felt, is just relaxed or whatever. It's just been constant. So, and constant changing, evolving, and I've been taking on stuff. So I've started a networking meeting every Thursday. So I have people from all over the world come on. I never would have done that before. I've never even would have considered starting a networking meeting, but it's fantastic and I love it. And as well, doing podcasts and interviews like this. I never would have thought about doing this or had the confidence to. I'm not going to lie. I did not like being on camera. Um, I didn't feel confident talking about myself. I didn't feel confident, even just looking at myself, looking back at me on the video. I hate it. So I'm kind of glad that I haven't got my glasses on because I can't see at the moment. So, but I mean, it's ever evolving, and that's what I love about it. But I mean, it's me that changes it. I don't have to go and check with someone to say, oh, can I have a couple of hours off on Thursday afternoon or something like that. It's just decide it myself. If I want a bath in the middle of the day, I'm going to have one.
how has your mindset changed? Because, like you just saying, you work in the corporate environment, a
Yeah,
massive, noisy, open plan office, and it's, we call ourselves account managers, but let's be honest, it's about flogging more stuff to the
of course.
companies, yeah?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it really about.
yeah,
So that's a mindset where you've got targets, you've got to achieve X, Y, and Z to get up
yeah,
on the leaderboard and all this kind of thing. That's one mindset. And then you
yeah,
kind of come in through the franchise to work yourself. It's a totally different ball game because there are no deadlines as such.
yeah.
There's no monthly target on the board flashing at you.
No.
There's no manager saying, Sarah, you've only made 9 million calls today. Where's the other million you won? You're a million
Yeah, yeah,
short, and all this kind of thing.
yeah,
How do you kind of set yourself mindset wise from that different world, two
yeah.
different worlds? How do you bring kind of that mindset into what you do when you're working for yourself?
I think I've always, because the salesperson is still in me regardless. And I think I'm more passionate now because it is my own business. So the sales thing, I've never ever been a hard sell salesperson ever. For me, it's all about building relationships. And if I talk to someone one day, then I keep in touch with them. I keep the connection going, and I keep, I check in with them, and that actually means so much more to people. And that's what I always loved about the account management side of things, because it was getting to know your clients. And I still, from then, have clients that I'm still friends with now that I've had work through as a copywriter. So, making those connections I found as helps me more. So with the whole mindset thing, I think knowing that I'm actually, yes, I'm a freelancer, but I'm not alone. There are plenty of people that I talk to all the time. And there's plenty of people that I support as well. It's not, it's a two-way street. So, this year I've helped 3 businesses launch their own freelance journey, one of which is a copywriter. And, that they've literally started from scratch, just like I did, but knowing that I can help people to achieve. I mean, I did everything myself, but people don't have to do it yourself. There is support out there. So, and I like to think that I'm giving something back as well. I don't charge for it. It's something that I do because I think I like to see people launch their dream as well, just like I did. And that's worked quite well. And that kind of thing, that kind of mindset just keeps me going, I think. I just have that drive and that passion for what I do, and that's what keeps me going every day, gets me up every day.
I think that's the important word there is drive, the
Yeah,
one and the desire to actually keep going every day because
yeah,
it's become a cliche, but something like what 85% of all new businesses fail in the first
yeah,
couple of years. And
yeah,
I think that is for one very specific reason. It's the realization that whatever you think you are, you're not. You're
yeah,
actually a marketer
yeah,
more than anything else, especially these days.
yeah,
Because what I found really interesting with the pandemic, people have taken redundancies or they've been made redundant. Suddenly they've got, they're in their mid 30s, they're expecting lots of things to career wise. And I'm thinking, ooh, I'll retrain as an ist. I'll
yeah,
retrain as a therapist or a this or a that or a dog trainer or a copywriter or one of these. And there's been this massive influx. I've certainly noticed it over the past 18 months because you were
yeah,
talking about going live.
yeah.
I kind of keep no, not monitor, that's not the right word, but I noticed that, pre-pandemic,
Mm,
there weren't that many people, relatively speaking, going live.
yeah,
And then kind of like every person and their pet cat and budgerigar was going live,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. But
yeah.
interestingly, there was a massive kind of curve where there was this massive increase and it's dropped off again.
Dropped off. Yeah, yeah, I think it's dropped off because people have either they didn't set it properly in the first place, which obviously if you don't set up properly in the first place, then that's it. They realise that it's a lot harder than they thought it was going to be. I mean, I didn't think this was going to be a walk in the park. But I'd be foolish to think that it would be that easy because it's not easy. It's really difficult. Um, but I think a lot of people now are just like, I don't know, they kind of had the hobbies and stuff like that during the pandemic as kind of a stopgap for them. And then reality sets in, and then the world starts opening up again, and actually they're not making enough to give up working full time. So then they're forced to go and get full time employment, and then that business kind of takes a drop. I think I have always been so damn determined not to go and work for someone else again, that every single day, that's the one thing that keeps me going. I love being a freelancer. I love working for myself. And after, I don't want to say how many years of employment, probably over 28 years of employment, I can finally say that that's it. I don't have to take, I'm going to swear. Don't have to
Feel
take
free.
anything for. I don't have to take any shit off anyone else anymore. I don't have to answer to someone constantly. I don't have someone looking over my shoulder and monitoring what I'm doing. And it's just it's very freeing. But yeah, I think it's a shame because I don't like to see businesses fail. But I think the pandemic, if anything, sort of forced people to do things differently, and I think that's at least a positive that we can take from it.
You said something really interesting, that people, when they start a business, they don't set up properly. I think
Yeah,
one of the biggest things that people don't do is their kind of research. Like, for example, I live in a small seaside town called Folkestone in
yeah,
Kent.
yeah,
I've noticed lots of, and I say lots, it's probably about half a dozen brand new cafes have
yeah,
opened up in the past 18 months. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, have you done any kind of market research about, things like footfall, the amount of people that are going to walk past
yeah,
your window,
yeah,
and the actual need for an extra cafe where there's already four in the street?
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and the thing is, the ones that are set up, I'm thinking, well, why would I come into your shop? You haven't got like a Caribbean theme or a
yeah. They're
Russian
no
theme.
different from
They're,
each
they're
other.
just like
Yeah,
the other coffee shop down the road. They've got nice chairs, they've got,
yeah,
nice decor, but
yeah,
that's it. And I'm
yeah,
thinking, you've spent all this money, or you've got all these loans
yeah,
to
yeah.
pay for
Loads more
this,
like yeah,
and you spent like 5 minutes doing research. And that's why I find really sad, because all that effort, there's all that energy, there's all that enthusiasm, and you can kind of almost go 6 months, a
yeah,
year,
yeah,
2 years. And I've actually seen that. I've actually seen stores, the shops open, and they've closed again
yeah,
within that,
yeah,
that less than a 1 year cycle, because people just don't realize that whether you're working online or whether you work in bricks and mortar,
yeah.
running your own business isn't as easy as these franchise companies and other people
No,
like to suggest it is. It's bloody
no.
work.
Yes, it is. I mean, I will be sometimes answering emails at 11:30 at night. I don't think as a freelancer you actually ever switch off. I don't think you ever switch off because you're always seeking opportunities. So whenever you talk to someone, you're always I mean, I suppose it's a psychological part of my profiling, which I think is inbred in me now. So, but I think I'm always looking and asking questions and talking to people and finding out what they're all about and what their pain points are and whatever. So I'm always seeking opportunities. And as a freelancer, you just do not ever switch off.
You, it's interesting because you have to switch off at some time, as you're going to go nuts. But also, you have to keep reminding yourself that you've got to be consistent. You've got to be marketing. You've got to be, you talked about
Yeah,
content. You've got to be doing either lives or blogs
yeah,
or Twitter feed, whatever it is, whatever you
Yeah.
do, you've got to be consistent,
Yeah.
because that's what makes you stand out from the people that come and go and come and go.
Yeah.
They find it's too hard because they've got to be posting every day, and
Yeah.
there's like, oh no, I'll get myself an assistant to do it all, which
Yeah.
is great, but unless you've trained your assistant to do what you want in the way you want it,
Yeah.
it's crap most of the time.
Yeah.
And so you're putting out there, oh God, you didn't write that. Somebody's written that for you. You can tell,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that you haven't taken that picture. That's just a crappy stock photo or
Yeah.
whatever. And it
Yeah.
becomes obvious that you're trying to find shortcuts when in fact, in the first 5 years, there are no shortcuts.
No, there aren't. No, absolutely not. I mean, the only thing that I've outsourced for was my logo design. Everything else, my website, um, is I've done everything myself, because if I'm going to set something up from scratch, it needs to be me, because I am selling me at the end of the day. It's yes, I can write for people, but I'm selling me. Um, and so actually doing my own website has led to me writing. I've written quite a few websites for clients now. So that kind of opened up another branch that I hadn't initially thought about. But I love writing websites for people. So that to me, as well as having a portfolio, the first thing I can say is have a look at my website. I'll write that, see what you think, and then I can lead them toward the other ones that um, I've written. But if my website doesn't speak for me first, then and I think people really fail to plan on details like that.
I read a post somewhere the other day where this guy was lamenting the fact that he spent something north of 10 grand on a website
Yeah.
and it didn't bring him one client, not a single one. And then he sat down and kind of spent 500 quid on,
Yeah.
on his own, doing it by himself.
Yeah.
And that brought him more clients because it was raw and simple,
Yeah.
and he was doing the writing and people got it. This is
Yeah.
a gen. And that's the important thing, isn't it? You've got to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
your own, you've got to get your hands dirty. You
Yeah.
can't hand off everything because you become a clone.
Well, and there's I don't actually see, if you're not that involved in the bare bones of your business, and I don't really understand why you would do it. Surely that, I mean, don't get me wrong, the amount of times I've sat there, like when I first wrote the website, I'd never written a website before. I didn't know what I was doing, but I've watched tutorials, I read online, I did my research, and I learned how to do it. If I don't know how to do something, I'll take the time and learn how to do it. But,
That's it. Yeah.
there are plenty of times that I've sat there and gone, oh, Jesus, I don't know how to do that. So I found out how to do it.
I think one of the biggest problems that people don't want to accept when they start a business is this thing about passive income. There's
Yeah.
so much talk about, oh, all you got to do is kind of like just throw this together, take 5 minutes to do this, and this, and then money will just come to you.
Yeah.
Well, show me, please, because I would love something like that. I'd really like to throw something and money to come rolling in. It just doesn't work
Yeah.
like that. And also,
No,
if you don't
it
get your
doesn't.
hands dirty first, you're never going
Yeah.
to know how it works.
And you wouldn't appreciate it either, I don't think. I mean, this is like when people are trying to get you to invest in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. It's like you invest this and sit back and watch the money roll in. And I'm like, do you know what? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I think unless you, like you say, you do get your hands dirty and you do sort of be there. Okay, if you really feel like you can't do it yourself, then of course outsource, but work like that with the person who's doing your website or doing your social media. Because, with all my clients, when I put their websites together and do their social media posting, I am in constant contact with them. because when I write something, it's their voice that I'm writing in. So if I don't know them, and I don't know them on a personal level, or enough about the business that I can literally go and sit and work in that business, then it's not going to work. So you know it needs to be your voice. When any of your marketing needs to be your voice or your business voice.
And it's got to be a lot of it as well. If you just post in once a week, you're going to
Oh
get
yeah.
lost
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
noise. Because this
Yeah.
this is the thing. It's a lot of people, they become hypnotherapists, they become NLP coaches,
Yeah.
they become life coaches, all kinds of things, nutritionists,
Yeah.
whatever. And all the people that are doing this training take loads of money off them to
Yeah.
teach them how to be a thing,
Yeah.
but they spend either zero time or very little time telling them the honest, brutal truth
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah.
not actually a hypnotherapist, you're
Yeah.
not a copywriter, you're not
Yeah.
you're a marketer.
Yeah.
So
Oh
if you
yeah.
don't get
Yeah.
out there and do your and tell people who
Yeah.
you are, what you do, and how you do it, and the know, like, and trust, and all of that,
Yeah.
how are people going to know you exist?
Oh, that's it. I mean, you can have your qualification in something, but unless you've got all the different hats for everything else, you've got your invoicing hat for your invoices, you've got your sales hat for getting your name out there and selling to customers, doing contracts, terms and conditions. Then you've got your actual job. What you do is actually a very small proportion to all the other hats that you have to wear. Um, and I think sort of a lot of people don't kind of realize that when they first start. And I think it's something that you have to learn as you go along. That you do have to wear lots of different hats in a job, because like you say, you are your own organization, so you have to be everything: administrator, sales, marketing, accounts. You have to be the whole package. But if it's all stuff that can be learned. So, and I think as you do go along, you kind of get yourself into the momentum of doing it, and it becomes quite a natural process.
And the thing is, you don't have to learn it all at once.
No.
You can kind of just do the bits as and when, and then over time, you kind of, it's like putting a jigsaw together. You
Yeah.
don't kind of like throw all the bits on a table and suddenly try and fit it all in. You go, well,
Yeah.
I'll do the outside corners first, or I'll do the
Yeah.
middle bit. You pick a place to start, and then you add bits until
Yeah.
you've got the full picture. And it's the same with the business. You don't have to learn about accounting and this and that and the other all in one hit. You
No.
kind of do it as it's needed.
Yeah, you do. And you have to adapt easily as well, because it changes. I mean, like, let's face it, COVID has, like, no one thought for a second 18 months down the road we'd still be even talking about it, let alone only just lifting all restrictions. So, I think you always have to be just alert to the fact that things change, and they change very quickly as well, and you have to be able to adapt to that straight away. So, say if you're in a specific market, I don't know, maybe you own a shop or something. Now, because of all lockdown, the high street shop has suffered dramatically because everyone shopped online. So that's why we've seen Debenhams close, and huge organisations that all of a sudden have disappeared from the high street, because I don't think, yes, they could do the online stuff, but I don't think they had the provision in there at the start.
Oh, don't get me started with Debenhams. They missed out on massive
Yeah.
opportunities to really, like, use that word, adapt and
Yeah.
grow. Yes,
Yeah.
online shopping is a lot easier, but let me give you an example. Um, I went to Debenhams, this was a couple of years ago before they shut in my local town, to buy a pair of shoes because I was
Yeah.
going out the next night and I needed a new pair of shoes. I went in. They said, "Yeah, we've got them, but they're not in stock at the warehouse." So, okay, how far is your warehouse? Well, 100 miles. They'll be here in 3 days. Hang on a minute. computers exist. Not we don't need a carrier pigeon. So you're saying it can take
Yeah.
3 days for somebody to type in a little email or whatever they need to do to
Yeah.
send it to the warehouse, to put it on a truck and to bring it
Yeah.
down here. So
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, sir. 3 days. I was very polite and I walked out the shop, came home, went online, Amazon, the exact same pair of shoes,
Yeah.
exact price, no difference in price.
Yeah.
Next day delivery guaranteed. I got them the
That's
next
it,
day.
isn't it? Yeah.
And
That's it.
that's where Debenhams and a lot of other big outfits missed out. And also, I mean, there
Yeah.
are other issues as well. They kind of hadn't updated their designs and what they were doing for a long time. They had a market where their stuff worked for them.
Yeah.
Kind of got dinosaur on it. They just stopped
Yeah.
with that. And
Yeah.
they didn't expand, they didn't make changes, they didn't read out all the kind of things you see phone shops do. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't do any of that. And I
Well,
think
see, it's not enough just to tick along
that's the problem.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's not enough.
you've got to adapt. You've got to
Yeah,
adapt
you have.
your opportunities, all the words that you've been talking about. And it's the same if you're a one-person band or
Yeah.
a huge organization. And
Yeah.
for huge organizations, they are guilty of not doing that in a lot of cases because
Yeah.
they get complacent or they
They do get
refuse to see
complacent.
they refuse to
Yeah.
see what's going on. And that's annoying because it puts people out of work. It kind of like leaves a big gap
Yeah.
in towns
Yeah. It does.
for
A
both
huge
for
gap.
both
I mean,
customers and staff.
yeah. Yeah. I think sort of, people are still always will always want to go shopping physically because you want to see, you want to touch, you want to feel. So I think that there'll always be that market there. But nowadays, it's like you say, you can get delivery the next day. If you don't like it, then, you know, corner shops and small shops will take the parcels back for you, so it's easy to return. It's not a case of now you have to go all the way to the post office, take it to the post office to send something back. It's Everything is made so much simpler for us to receive and send back that, I think like you say. I mean, at the end of the day, it's jobs that are gone. It's a gap in the high street, and it's a shame to see. But if you're not constantly looking 5 steps ahead, not just the first step ahead, 5 steps ahead, then you're always going to lose out to the people who are that prepared.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the big things that bricks and mortar shops don't do, and it's like the cafes I was talking about.
Yeah.
They don't go for the experience because that's the one thing that online can't do. If I want to
Yeah.
buy a pair of shoes, I go to the online place, I do a search for the pair of shoes. They've got the ones I want. They've got it in my size. I check delivery, bang, I pay for it. End of
Yeah.
story. But if I walk into a store, there's a happy, bright person there wants to give me the personal attention and what colour, sir, what style. Actually, sir, can I be honest? They don't really suit. Yeah, how about these
Yeah.
instead?
Yeah.
Online can't do that for me.
No,
So
it can't.
there's still a massive opportunity for bricks and mortar to do so because people are prepared to spend a bit more.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I mean, okay, some
100%.
people say, no, 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 if I can get it cheaper online, I'll get it online. Yeah, there
Yeah.
are people like that, but there are also people who go, you know what? I'm happy to pay a bit more because, well, look at labels. People will
Yeah.
pay hundreds of pounds for a pair of jeans that's identical to this pair of jeans, but that one's got a label on it.
Yeah.
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 The quality is no
Absolutely.
different because they were made in the
Yeah.
same place, just the
Yeah.
label's different. They weren't
Yeah.
hand stitched by Vestal Virgins proud, they were built in the same bloody factory or the factory next door.
Yeah.
But people want that label. So
Yeah.
we know people are prepared to pay more. And I think that kind of escalates down to the high street, but also to you and me.
Yeah.
There might be a million therapists, there might be a million copywriters, but you've got to stand out. You
Yeah.
have to provide the experience, for want of a better word.
And you have to be giving something that all the other people
Yeah,
aren't giving. I think sort of like going back to the example of the cafes, if I had a high street cafe, what would I do to make that different? Well, I'd fill it with books, and it'd be like a cafe slash book exchange slash library. Something different to what all the other shops are doing. I would want to have something unique. I mean, there's in Birmingham, there's a cafe that's got lots of cats in, physical, actual cats.
Ugh,
And
I'm not going
that,
there.
but it's like I say, it's something different. It's something that makes them stand out, and I think you're always going to remember that, aren't you? It's the cat cafe.
Yeah,
You
cat
know,
hair in me coffee. No thanks.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've got a cat, but even that doesn't appeal to me either, to be honest. But you know what I'm saying is that having that unique twist, I
Mm.
think, yeah, it counts for a lot. I think.
It does. I mean, it's got to be an experience, because if you want a coffee, you can go to Starbucks or the other one, I can't remember the name now, and you
Costa.
the Costa, and get a coffee and
Yeah,
you're out the door. If you want to
yeah,
go sit and have a coffee and a bit of cake and a chat, you
yeah,
want something different,
yeah,
something a bit interesting, something a bit out there. Yeah, and
yeah.
we've actually got in the old high street in Folkestone, there's a shop called what's it called? Steep Street, and it's a cafe, but it's surrounded by books. Now they're not a book exchange as such, but you can take a book off the wall, you can read it, and
Yeah,
it's all kind of secondhand stuff. But
yeah,
that's a great idea, having a book exchange, having a
yeah,
with a coffee. The books are free. You just take it, bring it back, or you bring another one in place, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You have to stand out. And as running your own business, you have to be the same. Your service or the way you do things has to stand out, whether
yeah,
that's you as a person or whether that's what you provide or how you provide it. Yeah. So that then you get known. Oh, yeah, yeah, I'll go see Sarah because
yeah.
Sarah spends, 15 hours having you strapped into a chair while she extracts your teeth so you give her all the information that she wants. Oh, that's a bit scary, but she gets really good results. I'm going to go see Sarah.
Yeah,
You've got to
yeah.
have that. That's the thing. You've got to have this unique kind of way of doing. Well, yeah, there's no such thing as unique, but there is, because we are all individual people. And
Yeah, and I
different
think
way.
sort of, yeah, I think for me, the major thing for me and the major way that I've got business is by doing things like this podcast, is actually putting my face to it. People can watch the podcast. I mean, I've done so many now, but they can watch the podcast and they can see what I'm all about before they even contact me. But the fact that my business isn't faceless, it's always got me there. And so my unique selling point actually is me. It is me.
That's it.
Because
Yeah.
it's me writing for you, but it's me. So, and I think I'm not by any way being big headed, but for me, it's I buy you people buy from people. So I want people to feel that they can be open and honest with me, and I can be the same back. That we can have a great relationship, a client, you know, business relationship where we can be open and honest and brainstorm ideas and work closely together. And I think, yes, I can just provide copy. You give me a subject and I go away and write it, but I don't want to just do that. I want to get to know the client, the business, what their goals are, where they've come from, where they're going to, what the plans are, and actually be a part of that. So when I write, it's as if I'm working at that business,
Mm.
not working for them, working with them or for that business. And I think that's what my approach has always been. And I think a lot of marketers don't do that.
So, what's the best way to get hold of you, Sarah, for anyone that's interested in having a chat with you?
You can go on my website, writeidea.me.uk. Write is in WRITE. You can email me, sarah.english@hotmail.co.uk. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, just about any social media you can think of. I am there. So, yeah, plenty of ways of getting in touch.
Don't worry about writing all that down, folks. I'll put the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening, guys and girls, people. Sarah, before we finish, any
Yes.
final thoughts?
I thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed this. And for anyone who is thinking about starting the freelance journey, the best thing I would say is do your research and just do it. Don't sit there and think about it for too long and plan too long, because you'll scare the life out of yourself. So, yeah, just go for it and just do it.
Brilliant. That's a great thing to end on. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks,
Thank
folks, for
you.
watching, and see you in the next episode. Bye now.
Thank you.